6 months ago, I set out to document our family history. I wanted to capture the memories before they faded and dig into the official records to separate the myths from the facts. What I found was a story of survival, of grit, of flying doghouses and stolen dimes, and of a man who crossed an ocean to leave his name behind. I'm so excited to announce that I've turned our family story into an audiobook, and I want to share it with all of you. Over the coming months, we are going to travel from the soot-stained cobblestones of Dublin to the trenches of the First World War. We'll ride along for the great autoclave heist. We'll survive the Battle of the Thames Valley, and we'll remember the incredible men and women who built the branches of this family tree: Kathleen, Eileen, Jake, Tom, and Bob. Chapter 4, Kathleen Carroll and Earl Shuh, of the 5 children who would carry the legacy of John Pat Carroll and Amelia Bell forward. It was the eldest, Kathleen Amelia Carroll, who was the first to navigate the passage from childhood into the demanding world of adult responsibility. Born in Hespeler on September 11, 1914, she was the vanguard of the new generation. Her life began just as the world was descending into the chaos of the Great War, a global conflict that would immediately and profoundly shape her family's story. When her father Pat answered the call to serve, Kathleen and her mother, Amelia, crossed the Atlantic to the relative safety of England, a journey that would see the birth of her sister Eileen on English soil before their eventual return to Canada after the war. Kathleen's story is above all one of unwavering duty. Her early life was inextricably woven into the 2 great historical forces that defined her era: her father's long and difficult recovery from his war wounds and the devastating economic collapse of the Great Depression. The 1931 Canadian census paints a stark and finite picture of the family's reality at 60 Cooper Street in Hespeler. Pat Carroll, earning a modest $875 for the entire year, had been laid off from the furniture factory for 15 weeks in the preceding year, a crushing blow for a family of 7 living in a home that cost them $13 a month in rent. The economic instability of the time, almost certainly compounded by the fragile state of Pat's health, placed an immense burden on the household's resources. It was in this crucible of necessity that Kathleen's character was forged. While her younger sister Eileen was still listed on the census as a student, Kathleen at age 16 was already a veteran of the workforce. Having completed grade 8, she made the decision that would define her youth. She left her formal education behind and started her new job at the Hespeler Woolen Mill. The work was grueling, the hours long, and the environment a deafening roar of machinery. As a winder, she became one of the countless women and girls who formed the backbone of the region's textile industry. Her time in the Hespeler Woolen Mill was a defining chapter of her youth, but her daughter Doreen's memory adds another layer to her working life, a position at the local Woolworths department store. The change in environment must have been profound. She traded the deafening industrial roar of the winding machines for the gentle jingle of a cash register and the quiet murmur of shoppers navigating aisles of home goods and notions. While the setting was vastly different, the purpose of the work remained the same. Every dollar she earned was a vital contribution to the Carroll household, a tangible act of support that helped keep the family afloat. It was a quiet, daily act of profound love and loyalty, but it came at a personal cost for the rest of her life. Kathleen would carry a single, quiet regret, that she had been unable to complete high school and pursue her dream of training as a nurse. Her path was not one of personal ambition, but of familial duty. Into this world of profound loyalty and hard-won stability came Joseph Earl Shuh, born on January 4, 1916, in the city then known as Berlin, Ontario. Earl was a man rooted in the soil, the eldest of 8 children from a farming family. His passion was for the land. He had honed this passion with a formal education from the Ontario Agriculture College, preparing for a life defined by the rhythms of the seasons and the rewards of a well-tended farm. He was a man whose character was expressed not through grand words, but through his work, steady, capable, and deeply connected to the earth. In the close-knit social fabric of the Kitchener-Waterloo area, where church life was the central pillar of the community, their paths were destined to cross. It was at a church social, a timeless scene of community connection, that Kathleen, Carroll, and Earl Shuh were introduced by a friend of Kathleen's and one of Earl's brothers. Their courtship unfolded against the backdrop of a world once again on the brink of war, but their commitment was to a future of peace and creation. On March 29, 1941, they stood together at Benton Street Church and were married. It was a pivotal moment for the Carroll family, the first wedding of the new generation. Their new life together began not in the city, but on a plot of land that represented Earl's true passion, a dairy farm on Shantz Lane. While the name has been lost to time on modern maps, the farm was located on what was then the rural eastern edge of Kitchener, in an area that would later be transformed by urban sprawl into the bustling Stanley Park neighborhood. For a time, this farm was a piece of the city's agricultural past, a remnant of the original Shantz family's deep Mennonite roots in the region, standing directly in the path of the post-war boom that was about to redefine Kitchener. For Earl, a man trained at the Ontario Agriculture College, this farm was the realization of a lifelong dream, a return to the soil where he was most at home. For Kathleen, the girl from the Hespeler Woolen Mill, it was a world entirely unlike any she had ever known. The transition must have been a form of culture shock. Kathleen had grown up in the dense, communal world of a mill town. Her life dictated by the factory whistle and the close proximity of neighbors. The farm was a different universe. The roar of industrial machinery was replaced by the vast, open quiet of the fields, punctuated only by the sounds of livestock and the whisper of the wind. Her new life demanded a completely different kind of resilience. For the next decade, she adapted to the immense challenges of gardening, canning fruits and vegetables, feeding not only her own growing family, but the hired hands as well, and managing a very busy household. For a woman whose life dream had once been the clean, orderly, and intellectual life of a nurse, this new life of soil-stained hands and aching muscles was a profound testament to her adaptability and her deep commitment to building a life with Earl. It was here, amidst this new world of agricultural toil, that the Shuh family truly began to grow. Their 3 children were born, establishing the first family of the new Carroll generation and filling the farmhouse with life. Their eldest, Donald Earl, arrived on January 4, 1944. He was followed by their daughter Doreen Margaret on September 17, 1945, and their youngest son, David Bruce, on November 18, 1948. But this idyllic chapter was not without its personal trials. Shortly after the birth of Doreen, Kathleen began to experience a significant and permanent hearing loss. In a world that was already isolating in its rural quiet, this personal silence must have felt profound. Doreen would later recall the memory of a Mr. Thede making a house call, coming out to the farm to fit her mother for the first of several hearing aids, a quiet but constant reminder of a new and permanent challenge she would have to navigate. The farm also became a sanctuary for the wider Carroll family, reinforcing Kathleen's role as the family's steadfast center. In 1947, following the sudden and tragic passing of the family matriarch, Amelia, Kathleen's youngest brother Bob, still a young man himself, came to live with them on the farm for a time. It was a natural and unquestioned act of familial support. Even while raising 3 small children under the age of 5 and managing the relentless demands of the farm, Kathleen opened her home, providing a place of stability for her grieving brother. The end of this era came not by choice, but by the inexorable march of progress. By 1950, Kitchener was bursting at the seams with post-war optimism and a pressing need for land. The Shuh family farm on Shantz Lane, once on the quiet edge of town, now found itself in the direct path of development. In a move reshaping cities across North America, the municipality expropriated their land for future subdivisions. For the entire family, It meant an unceremonious departure from the only home their children had ever known, bringing a decade of their life to a sudden close. Doreen remembered it as a difficult time for Mom and Dad, and Bruce's memories confirm it was the devastating end to Earl's dream and life goal. Having trained at the Ontario Agricultural College, now the University of Guelph, Earl saw his planned future completely erased, forced to adapt. The family left the open fields and rural rhythms behind, transitioning to a new, unplanned life in the heart of the city. Their new home at 38 Chapel Street was a world away from the farmhouse, ushering in what Bruce described as a dark period. The challenges of this relocation were immense. Back in the city, Kathleen's role as a caregiver expanded significantly. She now had to mother not only her immediate family, but also Earl's elderly grandfather and, as Bruce recalled, a peculiar uncle, adding layers of complexity to her already demanding life. It was out of this challenging environment that Earl began a new career. He went to work for his brother-in-law, Elmer Filsinger, at the well-known Filsinger's Appliances in downtown Kitchener. As Bruce noted, it was a very difficult transition. Earl's mechanical skill came not from formal training, but from years of maintaining and repairing complex farm machinery fueled by an inquisitive desire to learn. Now this hard-won ability had to be applied to the booming post-war world of home appliances. His innate understanding of machinery made him a natural at the work, but it was a path forged from necessity, not choice. The passion that he could no longer pour into the soil found a new outlet in the workshop, and he quickly became known as a man who always had a project on the go. His creations were not small, idle pastimes. They were ambitious, large-scale undertakings that became the stuff of family legend. His first major project began in the basement of their Chapel Street home, where he painstakingly constructed a wooden boat from scratch. It was a testament to his skill and patience, a beautiful craft built piece by piece in the subterranean confines of a city house. The project only revealed its one logistical flaw upon completion. It was too big to get out of the basement. For a man like Earl, this was not a disaster, but merely a problem to be solved, in a scene that must have been the talk of the neighborhood. The basement door and part of its frame were temporarily removed to allow the proud, newly built vessel to finally see the light of day. This was just the beginning. Over the years, he would build 2 different camping trailers, each a testament to his ingenuity designed to carry the family on adventures far beyond the city limits. But of all his creations, none became more infamous or more perfectly defined his character than the doghouse he built for Kathleen's brother Tom. This was no ordinary doghouse. Designed to house Tom's Labrador Retriever, it was a substantial structure, fully insulated to withstand the harsh Canadian winters. The problem was one of transport. The journey was uneventful until the moment they accelerated to merge onto Highway 401. The sudden rush of wind caught the structure's broadside, lifting it from the trailer and sending it tumbling onto the shoulder of the highway, where it landed dramatically. It was a moment that could have been a disaster, but it became the ultimate proof of Earl's sturdy craftsmanship. The doghouse was so sturdily built that despite its violent high-speed landing, it suffered only minor roof damage. A week later, after a few necessary repairs, it was successfully delivered and installed in Tom's backyard. Perhaps the most beloved of all his projects was the one that brought the whole neighborhood to a standstill, the famous Shuh sidewalk Motorcar. It was a father and son's collaboration, with Earl, Donnie, and Bruce working together to create what was every boy's dream. The machine was a piece of pure Canadian ingenuity, a go-kart powered by a vintage gasoline washing machine engine. This was no simple soapbox derby car. Earl engineered it with proper linkage steering and a real steering wheel. It was a one-of-a-kind creation in the neighborhood, a piece of mobile folk art that puttered along the sidewalks of Chapel Street. It didn't go very fast, but speed wasn't the point. It was, as everyone agreed, incredibly cool. A testament to a father who didn't just build things for his children, but built things with them. The house at 38 Chapel Street was more than just a new address. it became the vibrant center of their lives. While Earl's workshop was a hub of ambitious construction projects, the home itself was Kathleen's domain, a place she transformed into a powerhouse of domestic skill, community leadership, and warm, bustling family life. The same hands that had deftly worked the machinery of the Hespeler Woolen Mill now applied their skill to creating a rich and textured world for her husband and children. The living room at Chapel Street was often dominated by her large quilting frames. Here, for hours on end, Kathleen would sit in quiet concentration, her needle flying as she stitched together intricate patterns, creating beautiful, durable quilts for various family members. This talent extended to her work as a seamstress, creating many of her own clothes and the dresses her daughter Doreen wore with pride. The kitchen was the undeniable heart of the home, a place of comforting aromas and legendary local flavor. Every Saturday, Kathleen would make a trip to the Kitchener Farmers Market, an institution that has been the city's bustling heart since 1869. This was more than just grocery shopping. It was a weekly ritual, a direct connection to the region's deep agricultural roots. With one of the children often in tow, pulling a wagon, she would navigate the crowded aisles, building relationships with the same farm families who had sold their produce, meats, and baked goods there for generations. The bounty she brought back was transformed in her kitchen. Trailer loads of peaches from Vineland were canned for the winter. Her apple pies became the gold standard for the entire extended family, and for special family gatherings, there was one treat always requested above all others: her raisin squares baked on a large cookie sheet, a particular favorite of her brother Bob. A staple for family trips was always a large summer sausage, perhaps a classic from Schneider's. The Chapel Street home was a frequent stop for visiting relatives, and Kathleen's role as the family's steady center was a constant. She and her sister Eileen were exceptionally close, speaking on the phone almost every day. It was a bustling, faith-filled home. Earl served their church as a trustee, and Kathleen was the president of the Women's Missionary Society. But at the legendary Carroll family reunions, her role was often that of chief musician and master chef. Her niece, Jake's daughter Pat, vividly recalled Aunt Kay playing a washtub bass at one reunion, a moment of pure, uninhibited joy, and no gathering was complete without her incredible scalloped potatoes. They were, as Pat remembered, always a big hit, the secret to their perfection being to bake them long and slow. Their faith was a quiet, daily practice, with the children kneeling for bedtime prayers, a memorable and defining observation for visiting cousins. Kathleen's love for her children was her driving force. For one of Doreen's birthdays, she declared it queen for a day, jammed the car full of kids, in an era when seatbelts were an afterthought, and took the entire excited group to Brighthouse Park for a day of picnics and games. It was a simple, joyful celebration, a memory cherished for a lifetime, orchestrated by the woman who was the quiet, steady, and capable heart of the Shuh family. While life at 38 Chapel Street was defined by the steady rhythms of work, school, and church, the heart of the Shuh family's shared joy was found 200 kilometers to the north, amidst the granite shores and pine-scented air of Muskoka. In the post-war boom of the 1950s, a growing middle class, newly empowered by the family automobile, began to transform the ruggedly beautiful district into Ontario's iconic cottage country. For Kathleen, this was a return to a place she had loved since she was a teenager, a place of freedom and natural beauty where she had gone to camp in her youth. For years, she and Earl passed this love on to their children, making an annual tradition of renting a cottage on Mary Lake. In 1965, this long-standing love affair with the region was made permanent. Earl and Kathleen purchased a lot on the Muskoka River, and in what can be seen as the ultimate expression of his life's passion, Earl built their own cottage from the ground up. This was more than just another project. It was the culmination of a lifetime of building, the creation of a permanent family sanctuary that would provide countless fun times and serve as a beloved gathering place for years to come. These family getaways were part of a larger, unwritten Carroll tradition. The 5 siblings, now with growing families of their own, made it a priority to remain deeply connected, Their homes and vacation spots became the venues for a series of joyous, chaotic, and utterly memorable gatherings that would form the bedrock of the cousins' relationships. Bruce Shuh vividly recalled the annual cousins' trip to the Canadian National Exhibition in Toronto. A pack of them would descend upon Jake and Trudy's Long Branch home, sleeping on the living room floor before piling onto the streetcar for the adventure. This bond was strengthened during the summer months, as Pat recalled many happy seasons spent at Camp Minneyowi with her cousins Lynn, Joanne, Colleen, and Kim, forging their own adventures away from the watchful eyes of their parents. For a group of kids from Kitchener, the X, in the 1960s, was a dazzling spectacle of noise, wonder, and modernity. They would have wandered through a fairground that was a vibrant mix of agricultural tradition and technological marvel. They would have seen the latest gleaming cars from Chrysler and elaborate displays from the Canadian military. The air would be thick with the smell of popcorn and grilled onions, the roar of the crowd at the grandstand shows, and the thrilling screams from the midway rides. High divers plunged from 110-foot towers into the waters of Lake Ontario, and the Canadian International Air Show, a new feature since 1949, would have filled the sky with the roar of powerful engines. It was into this overwhelming world of excitement that Bruce carried a simple lunch carefully packed by his Aunt Trudy. Its tragic loss on the streetcar was a small, personal disaster amidst the grandeur, a classic tale of a young boy whose limited resources were suddenly stretched to the breaking point. The social calendar of the cousin clan was marked by these recurring events. Christmas often meant a boisterous gathering at Bob and Jean's house on West Avenue, the same home that had once been Grandpa and Grandma Carroll's. Bruce's memories are a mosaic of sensory details: the presence of a black lab, a festive dinner of duck or goose that one of the uncles had shot, and the cautious chewing required to avoid biting down on a piece of lead shot. In the summer, the highlight was the pool parties at John and Trudy's home in London. As the cousins grew into young adults and newlyweds, these gatherings became a vital way to catch up on the rapid changes in each other's lives. The venues were varied, but the spirit was the same. Doreen remembered a vacation at Grandpa Pat and Vera's rented cottage at Ipperwash, a trip defined by a moment of high panic when her brother Bruce suddenly went missing. A frantic search ensued until the crisis was averted with the discovery of Bruce safe and sound in the outhouse. These shared experiences were the glue that bound the 5 branches of the Carroll family, forging an unbreakable bond between the cousins. As the years passed, the home on Chapel Street remained a vital hub for the family. To his grandchildren, Pat Carroll was a quiet, almost mysterious figure. Bruce and Doreen both recalled his Saturday morning visits for coffee with their mother, Kathleen, a quiet and comforting ritual. These were private, heartfelt conversations. The children would often be sent outside to play, leaving a sense of adult seriousness in the kitchen they weren't yet meant to understand, giving Pat the space to speak privately with the one person who truly understood the weight he carried in Kathleen. He found not just a daughter, but a confidant. He never forgot the sacrifice she had made, and the depth of his love was made clear in a final, poignant acknowledgement after he was gone. As Bruce recalled, in his will, he specifically left Kathleen his '56 Chevy. It was more than just a vehicle. It was a profound gesture of recognition. He had told her it was to compensate for her having to leave school and work to support the family during his long illness and the lean years of the Depression. It was a quiet gesture that spoke volumes, a father's final gift to the daughter who had given so much. The final chapter of Kathleen's life was a testament to the strength she had shown since childhood. In January of 1974, she was diagnosed with cancer. She faced the illness with the same quiet resilience and pragmatism that had defined her entire life. Following months of treatment, she passed away at home, surrounded by the family she had dedicated her life to, on December 26, 1974. She was only 60 years old. Earl lived on for another 25 years, passing away on July 1999. He had witnessed the seeds of his family grow into a new generation, a legacy that was perhaps most publicly realized through the ambition of their eldest son, Don. In 1978, just a few years after Kathleen's passing, Don Shuh, a graduate of Hamilton Institute of Technology, now Mohawk College, founded Shuh's Appliance Center in Guelph. The business was built on a philosophy that was a direct reflection of the values he had learned from his parents, a commitment to craftsmanship, quality service, and unwavering integrity. Earl was there to support his son in this new venture, lending his decades of experience and his steady hand to the founding of a business that would carry the family name into the future. Tragically, cousin Don passed away at the young age of 60 on January 18, 2004, while on vacation in Costa Rica. The legacy of Kathleen and Earl Shuh is one of quiet power and lasting influence. It is not a story of grand headlines, but of the deeply meaningful daily acts that build a family and a community. Kathleen's life was a testament to unwavering duty and the strength required to put family first. Earl's was a story of quiet craftsmanship, of a passion for building things that were sturdy, reliable, and meant to last. Together they created a home that was a beacon of faith, a hub of creativity, and a sanctuary of love for their children, their extended family, and their community. Their story marks the first great branching of the Carroll family tree, a foundational limb from which new generations would grow, forever shaped by the enduring values of the girl from the Hespeler Mill and the farmer from Shantz Lane. Welcome back to the Cousins Corner. We didn't have any major historical mysteries to solve or debates to settle this week, so I looked around my inbox for something just as good: family photos. Over the past few months, a few of the cousins, along with my sister Pat, have sent me some absolutely fantastic pictures from the old days. I'm going to put some of the cousins' pics up on the screen right now. Seeing these faces and places really brings everything we've been talking about to life. I want to encourage all of you, if you're digging through your closets or shoeboxes and find some great shots of the family, the old houses, or any of the events we've talked about, please scan them or snap a picture with your phone and email them to me. Not only is it a great way to share them on YouTube, but I'm going to try and include as many as I can in the final definitive edition of the book that I'll be putting together at the end of the year. Thank you so much to everyone who sent pictures. Please keep your comments, memories, and photos coming. Before I go, I just want to say a huge thank you for the incredible feedback I've been getting. I received a lovely note all the way from South Carolina from Cousin Marg this week. She mentioned how much she's enjoying the narration, and I just wanted to say how much I appreciate that. Sitting in front of a microphone can feel a little strange, but knowing you're all listening and enjoying the story makes it completely worth it. I'll see you in 2 weeks for Chapter 5, where we'll dig into the story of Aunt Eileen and Uncle Elmer Filsinger. So, Cousin Marg, get your editor's hat ready. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.